要去医学院，以后想成为一名医生。他在高中时期就已经成立了个人书封面设计工作室，并且已经拥有稳定的客户群，包括 USA Today Bestsellers。他课余时间参加了很多的社区服务，在 MIT 的多个学生团体里面担任领导职务。爱跳舞、美食、旅行和朋友社交，与家人在一起，真的是一个 slashy， 好长都介绍不完他的这个特点。另外呢，他说他的人生以兴趣为导向，不走直线，爱走弯路。这是为什么今天我们说叫螺旋上升，因为他确实是尝试了不同的职业、不同的专业，一直在前行，不断的清理自己的目标。非常执着的追求，而且呢，也享受这个探索的过程。那我们现在就来看一下木兰的一个短片吧。这个短片是他去年在 MIT 的机械工程系里面做的一个产品设计大赛或者参赛的时候发布的一个个人的介绍。这个比赛的主题是 What moves you？我们有一个短片来认识一下木兰。
What moves me is my imagination. When I can think of something that doesn't exist yet, then knowing that I have the potential to create it and turn that into what I can see in my everyday life, that idea moves me.
大家能听到声音吗？刚刚这个 video。好，
可以。
好的，那我们现在就开始正式的访谈了。我们首先欢迎木兰，给大家打个招呼，好吗
？Yeah, hi everybody. Nice to meet you all.
对，因为sorry, I forgot to mention. 因为she's more comfortable speaking in English. We're gonna conduct the interview in English for the rest of the session. And then during Q&A towards the end, we will allow you to raise questions in either Mandarin or in English. Okay. All right. So first, I actually want to ask a question about your name because that caught me the most without knowing your resume, without knowing your background. Your first name is literally the same spelling of Hua Mulan, which is an Asian hero that's widely known. And did people ask you about your name and try to associate you with Hua Mulan in the past?
Yeah, a lot of the time, like when I go to a coffee shop, they'll be like, "Oh, like the movie?" And I'll be like, "Yeah."
I hope it makes you feel proud in a way now that with Disney's movie being widely promoted and people knowing more about Chinese history and characters. So that becomes a new icon that people should remember. Great. We want to know, when did you find out you're interested in engineering? I know for a girl, it may not come naturally. Do you have any story to share about your journey?
Engineering was tough to explore in my high school because we didn't have many engineering opportunities, and because I remember, like, at the time, the entire robotics team at my high school was all boys, and so it wasn't a very welcoming environment. I actually attended a summer program at MIT called the Women's Technology Program, where I did the track in electrical engineering and computer science. So that was in between my junior and senior years of high school. That was a really formative experience for me because I was surrounded by 39 other women who were also very passionate about engineering. And I had such a great experience there that I actually declared computer science as my potential major when I entered college. And that was my first sort of exposure to how creative engineering could be as a discipline. And that's something that really appealed to me. But when I was at MIT, I took a class called toy design. You literally design toys. And I had so much fun in that class. I really enjoyed working with my hands and being able to create products that I could tangibly touch and hold. And that inspired me so much that I decided to become a mechanical engineering major instead.
Wow, that's so interesting. Nowadays, I think the robotics coding classes are offered early on in even in elementary school. I guess that helps the kids and students get more interest into engineering early on as possible, as early as possible. Now, let's talk about the mechanical engineering education at MIT and how would that help you become a doctor in the future? It's a drastic change to some extent, and do you think it helps you in a way that you will be able to pursue a medical doctor's degree with background in engineering from MIT?
Yeah, I don't think that you necessarily have to do one type of major in order to be a doctor. I think that mechanical engineering, more than anything, has taught me how to think. And for that, I really value it as my major because when you have a mechanical engineering problem, it's all about breaking it down into smaller portions, trying to think about how to tackle each individual piece, and trying to be really creative while doing so. So I think the critical thinking and problem solving skills that it has taught me can be applied to any field in the future. So whether I'm trying to solve a thermodynamics equation or trying to diagnose a patient, I think the same sort of thinking is going to apply. And for that, I think I really value my engineering education.
That's right. That's right. That's so encouraging. I think sometimes people feel that they are fixed to one major after a while and they are afraid of making changes. And what you just said, it really encourage people to try different fields and really apply their soft skills to any industry, any fields they'd like to explore. Excellent.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the research projects you've been participating so far at MIT. Were there a lot of resources and opportunities that you can share and inspire people to join at MIT in a way?
Yeah, I think one of my favorite parts about MIT is the URAP program, which stands for Undergraduate Research Opportunities Program, and basically allows you to be paid or get credit for research that you do. And I think I've been very lucky in that it was really easy for me to find research opportunities. There's like a website where professors list their openings for undergraduate students. And so my freshman year, I reached out to a professor in MIT Media Lab who was doing work with satellite data and using that to track invasive species. And I thought that was really interesting at the time. And I wanted to work on environmental science. So I reached out and they let me go ahead and like start working in their lab. And that was really fantastic. And as my interest changed towards medical devices, and I wanted to focus more in on that aspect of my engineering career, I reached out to Professor Roche, who I'm currently under, and she runs a lab that works on medical devices. And I think the professors have been very welcoming to undergraduate students. And I think I'm very lucky to have had a lot of independent research experience as a result of that.
Great. How did you know about the program? Was there like a website or orientation for all students?
It's pretty well publicized at MIT. I think from what I remember from being an admissions tour guide, I think it's like 90% of MIT students participate in a URAP at least one point in their career or in their MIT career. So it's so widespread, like everybody, it's a
really
lot of people in URAP.
Culture. Yeah. Okay, great. Did you start research projects early on in high school?
Yeah, I was really lucky to be able to go to a program at the University of Iowa called SSTP, Secondary Student Training Program. And I was able to work on a project that involved examining melanoma development in zebrafish. And that was a really, really cool research project for me to be able to experience it as a high school student. But like, I know those opportunities are really rare. And so I think I was just really, really fortunate to be able to get to do that. And that really inspired me to do science as a result.
That's great. How did you find out the program? Was it difficult to be admitted back then? I'm asking because research seems so challenging for high school students, and some students I know even felt negatively when they went inside a lab and saw the routines and processes. They just didn't feel that they are part of the research career. So how did you overcome the initial fear and really be able to get involved and furthermore as early as high school?
Yeah, I mean, the first time I walked into a bio lab, it was like biology lab. It was super overwhelming. There's so much information that's so complex. And when you work on these sort of projects, it becomes like very, very detailed and in-depth in a particular subject that you probably have never learned about. It's definitely a challenge. And honestly, it can be kind of boring at first. At least it was for me, because I felt like I was doing the same research experiments over and over, pipetting things over and over, and it wouldn't work. And that would be really frustrating. So research is definitely not easy at all. And I went through my period of, I don't think like I actually enjoy this. And I think that's actually like sort of why I decided to do the women's technology program, was because I wanted to try engineering instead, because I was so disillusioned with basic biology research after that initial experience. But I think circling back around to it now that I have done more wet lab research in college, I feel like it still was a valuable experience. And when I decided to do like cardiovascular research at the University of Michigan this summer, knowing that I was going to be in another biology lab, I was able to say like, okay, I know it's going to be really tough. I know that these are going to be the challenges of it, but feeling like that was still worth doing anyways, because I really believed in my project and I really thought that my project was meaningful and impactful. So that really helped me look at it in a new light. But I can definitely see how it can be very challenging for high school students, especially at the beginning.
Right. It looks like the belief matters more, and the patience and persistence would take a long way.
Yeah, I think you have to really care about what you're doing. And I think that like, especially in high school, because I was assigned to this project, I didn't necessarily have that personal sort of connection with it, which is kind of hard. But because I had like started to narrow down my interests more in college, I really knew that like my project at the University of Michigan involved looking at proteins and preserving donor hearts. And because I was already interested in the cardiovascular system, I cared a lot more about it. And so I think just doing what you're passionate about is like really important.
Right. It's so important. And I can say that even as adults, a lot of us don't have true passion yet. It's still a discovery journey for the long run. A lot of people are still trying to find their passion through career, through outside involvement, community services as well. So it's great that you already have discovered your passion early on, and that helped you to build up your success consistently. Okay, great. So let's talk about campus activities and projects outside your major field. It looks like on your resume there were a ton. I don't I don't know where to start, and maybe you can just name a few as an example, and also share the fun part of the university or with the group.
Sure. A few things that I'm involved in on campus are Asian dance team, which K-pop dances, very fun. At least that's the side of the dance team that I do. I'm in a sorority, the Greek life, and I currently live in a sorority house. I'm also in Think, which is a research program for high school students where we mentor and fund high school research projects. And I'm also in Asian American Initiative, which is a political advocacy group for Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders on campus.
Wow. How do you manage your time across all leadership positions and volunteer activities and events? Is it a challenge?
Yeah. I mean, I think this is still a challenge that I am trying to figure out. I don't think I really have all the answers for time management because it's really, really hard. I think I try every single semester to try and figure out exactly how much I can take on to avoid taking on too much. And I try to be very careful about planning things. I'm really into Google Calendar and planning out my time in advance. But I think I think it's a challenge for everybody.
Yes.
A lot of people I know on campus are just involved in a ton of things that they're really passionate about and have a lot of side projects too and a ton of hobbies, and balancing that with a social life and sleep and work, it's a struggle for everybody, continuous struggle. Yeah.
That's right. As adults, we also struggle for different responsibilities as parents primarily. Okay, great. I think these are questions we have for you related to the current life in MIT. I'm sure the audience would like to raise other questions later on, but let's move on to the next segment, which is further back into your early childhood, because as parents, we'd like to learn how you become where you are and if there's any good practice, any tips that you can share. So I will start with enrichment programs. That seems to be inevitable. Every Asian parent puts their children in various enrichment activities early on since elementary school. I'm sure you probably had a few. You mentioned dance earlier, and you probably learned dance somewhere. Could you name a few enrichment programs that you remember that you really enjoyed, and what was your favorite?
Yeah, I think I was really lucky that my parents gave me a lot of freedom to do a ton of different programs. I did everything, right? I did everything and I quit a lot of things. And I think that was really valuable for me to figure out what I liked and didn't like. I did soccer in second grade. I am not a soccer player now. I am horrible at it. And that was something that I tried and I didn't like. But at the same time, I tried doing art classes and I ended up really liking that. And so I think, I think I had a lot of freedom to explore things, which is something I'm very, very grateful for. I actually did not do dance, fun fact. When I was in K through 12, I started that in college, actually, because
interesting.
It was a very beginner friendly dance team and I wanted to put myself out there. But I think I did a lot of school programs when I was, especially in middle and high school. My school had a really good science Olympiad team. And so I was really involved in that. And I liked that a lot. I liked debate a lot. And I think that was really important for me because I was really shy as a kid. And so being able to do debate and grow in confidence and public speaking was also really important to me as well. So having had a variety of experiences, I think was really important to me.
That is so interesting. I guessed it wrong. I assumed that you started dancing early because typically people have to start dance first. Wow, that is indeed a variety of activities. And I really like what you said, the freedom. You enjoy the freedom of making choices on your own and didn't feel afraid of quitting. The family really gave you support to try different activities early on, and that helped you practice judgment too. Okay, so what about volunteering work? Did you do volunteering work since kindergarten or high school or middle school? And what was your favorite program that you still remember the experience from volunteering?
Mm-hmm. I think I benefited from a very strong Asian American community in Kansas City. And my parents were really involved in the Kansas City Chinese American Association. And they had a volunteering group called the Youth Hope Fund. And that was for students to do fundraisers to help education in rural China. And so I started getting involved with that when I was like, I think in middle school, because a lot of my friends were doing it. And I think the community was just really strong surrounding it. A lot of community support, a lot of fun social activities. I felt like I was doing it with my friends. So that's why I think I really liked it at the beginning. And what was really memorable for me was I had the opportunity to travel to China and to teach English in a rural school in Yanzibian. And that was really, really impactful to me because I initially went because my friends were going and I was like, oh, it'll be like a little vacation. It'll be fun. But I ended up like really connecting with the kids there and forming these like really meaningful, really deep connections. And I felt very fulfilled as a result. And that's when I started really thinking that volunteering was like something that I found very personally rewarding. And I think that helped me grow a lot as a person as well. And yeah, I think I was just super lucky to like have had that opportunity to go to China because I know that that's really, really rare. But I think like even within the local community itself, when I went to like soup kitchens to help make meals for homeless shelters, or like even working on sorting like donations for like local donation agencies, I think all of that, being able to do that at a young age with my friends was something that was really impactful for me.
That is such a special experience, memorable experience. I wish that program is still running and more parents and students online can join in future as well. Now that the pandemic is over, I'd assume the program can resume. I also heard that you went to Mexico for volunteer activity.
Yeah. So in college, I went to Mexico as a part of big class. And this organization at MIT called D-Lab really focuses on the idea that technology ought to be appropriate for particular situations. So as a class project, our class split into different teams to go to various countries in the global south. And so I went to Mexico where I was working on tortilla presses and donkey pulled carts in local villages. And that was a really, really important experience to me as well, because I think that for a while I got very caught up in the idea that technology has to be very glamorous and that you should work on things like AI and machine learning and all the cool, trendy things, but that oftentimes what is really helpful and what is really necessary is not the latest, coolest technology that's the most trendy, but really like down to earth, like accessible, appropriate, sustainable technology. And the idea that you have to make that in collaboration with the communities that you're trying to serve is really, really important. And I think that experience, that month that I spent in Mexico, really influenced how I thought about technology moving forward as well.
That's an excellent point. I have to say that I work with technology department all the time, Most people promote for high tech, cutting edge tech, but there's also a lot of wasted effort. Projects went live, but not being adopted by the end users. We had to redo the work. The fit for purpose is so important. And at the end of the day, it's really designing a product that fits for a specific needs, for specific community user groups, and has to be accessible down to earth. As you said, I'm glad that you already got the insight, even though you don't pursue a technology career just yet. I'm sure you will become an expert in the fields you choose. Excellent. And now let's talk about the challenges you might have faced while growing up. Talk about the positive sides of you, the bright sides of you. Did you have any struggle when you grew up? And who provided guidance to help you go through the challenges?
Yeah, I mean, I think like growing up, like I really struggled from like a lack of confidence, lack of self-esteem. Like I was very, very self-conscious all the time. And I think this was due to like a variety of challenges, right? Like I was a shy kid. And so I struggled to connect with the people around me. I have really weak knees. And so I was wearing knee braces all the time. And I was really self-conscious about the way that I have a little bit of a limp when I walk, the fact that like I can't really stand super straight, these clunky knee braces that I wear, I like thought were super ugly in every single photo. And I like really struggled with feeling confident as a result of that. And also being Asian American, like sometimes I would get like very unsavory comments from my peers or my teachers or like people. I remember like one time one of my teachers tried to offer me cereal to like welcome me to the United States. And I was like, I'm in high school. I've lived here all my life. I've definitely had Fruit Loops before. So I think there is a variety of experiences that led me to feeling like alienated or like very, very self-conscious all the time. And I think that growing in confidence was something that I think going to college helped a lot with, because I finally felt like I found a community that I really fit into, and that accepted me for who I am. I think I am going to shout out my family yet again, because I think growing up, they were like, they always supported me, like regardless of like what I looked like or like all the failures that I had. Like every single time like I would do like terribly on a test or something, like they never made me feel like I was any lesser than because of that. And so I think that was a very helpful foundation for eventually being able to be more confident in who I am.
Wow. I didn't expect that you had so many challenges, lack of confidence, lack of self-esteem, and even hearing the discrimination as Asian American. That was tough. That was very tough. I'm still learning from the history, the Chinese American history, and it's empowering in a way to me, because the more challenges, like more difficulties in the history, the more support and privilege I feel on the positive side, that at least our generation is not facing as much challenge as the older generation, and we're on a stronger foot at this point, and we can also build up our professional presence, build up our leadership capabilities to be able to shine and have the model spread it more amongst the broader American communities. So you are one of the future stars, hopefully, that can bring more positive influence to your peers and younger generation. This is why we're trying to highlight your story and your growth in front of the audience here. I can't agree more. Parent support is so important, and the culture, finding a culture that's a fit for you, is also a strong support. And I'm glad that MIT worked for you. Really nurtured your interest in engineering and technology, and even broader volunteering, social community contribution as well. I've learned so much from you today. Okay, now let's talk about your hobby as an art designer. How did you find this business? How did you hone your skills as a professional art designer?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just something that I just really, really enjoyed. I had a lot of fun with it because it's a very creative process, and I get a lot of satisfaction from making a pretty book cover. So I just had a lot of fun. And I watched a ton of YouTube tutorials and like about Photoshop, and I honed my skills, I think, also a lot by talking to other graphic designers I met online. I would just reach out to designers who I admired and be like, hey, how did you do this? This is really cool. And they're all super nice, and they would like share their tips and tricks with me and like recommend me the best YouTube tutorials to watch. And so I think that having that artistic community was really important to me. And in terms of promoting my business, I think just trying to build good relationships with my authors, having a Facebook group, and being able to promote my art that way through social media, just trying to be professional and to manage my time well, not take on too many covers that I can't do, like make sure that I'm able to like really deliver on everything that I sign up to do when I agree to take on a commission. Yeah, I think there's a lot that went into it, but more than anything, I thought it was just a very fun, relaxing hobby for me to do outside of everything else.
Excellent. I'm still learning how to promote business, not a real business, but nonprofit organization that I'm part of. In general, I'm just amazed that you already figured it all out yourself, leveraging social media, having your own Facebook group to promote the business, and also find teachers who voluntarily taught you for free. I think most parents don't even think that's an option. We just assume that we have to find a teacher, the best class teacher somewhere, to be able to teach the children. It looks like it's not the only way.
Yeah, I will also say I don't have all the ways to promote a business. Like I intentionally keep my business small, right? Because I don't have time to expand it. So just like I think social media works really well for me because it allows me to control exactly how big I get. And that's really important to just like find what suits what you need the most.
That's interesting. Going back to your point about freedom, it looks like now you have the freedom to control the pace of your business as well, which is a luxury for most business that they struggle with the growth. But by the way, my bank also talks about sustainable growth. So in a way that we're not that aggressive, we actually care about the balance between the growth and the quality as well. So it's great. You already have that mindset to figure out and control your way of growing the business. Okay. Lastly, I think that this is the most important and most interesting question that most parents would ask if they would choose over multiple prestigious colleges such as Yale, Princeton, Stanford, MIT, which one would they choose? And I know you were accepted to all those colleges back then when you had to make a choice. What made you decide to go with MIT? And if you could start over, will you make the same decision? Two loaded questions.
Yeah, those are tough questions. The first one I think is a little easier because at the time, I visited all the schools and I felt like I didn't fit the school culture of Princeton very well. I didn't really connect with the people that I met. So that was that. And I moved on. I visited Yale. I really liked it, loved the student culture, but I felt that I wanted a school with a stronger STEM and engineering focus. So naturally, that left Stanford and MIT. I visited Stanford. I had already visited MIT. I did a coin toss. It landed on Stanford. I said, Stanford it is. And then it didn't feel right to me. I think somewhere in my gut instinct, I just knew that MIT would be the best fit in terms of personality. So I changed my mind and I ended up choosing MIT instead. Wow. And it was pretty much just like a gut instinct choice because honestly, I think I would have been very happy at Stanford or Yale or Princeton. I think I would have found things to love about every single one of these schools. So yeah, it was just sort of like what I felt like was right. Second question, I think, is really hard because I talk about MIT very positively a lot of the time. I think there are so many positive things about the school in terms of like the opportunities for research, the support you get from professors, but it's also really, really hard. I personally find that the work is super tough and I spend so much time just not understanding T-sets. It can be really rough. And I think that I am stressed a lot of the time. If you ask me this question before a midterm, I'll probably say, oh my God, I hate MIT. It's so hard. And so I go through ups and downs, right? And I think any student absolutely like feels the same. There's like a phrase, IHTFP at MIT, which stands for I hate this effing place, or I have truly found paradise. And it can be both, depending on your mood. And I think that that's really accurate. So will I make the same decision? I think now that I'm towards the end of my MIT career, looking back on everything, I would say yes, because I think that I was able to find, like, I found truly incredible people at MIT. I've made really amazing friends who I think have shaped who I am as a person. I think that I've had the freedom within my major to combine my interest in mechanical engineering and medicine and to be able to find my niche. I think that I'm lucky to be situated in Boston, which is this amazing biotech hub, and having all these hospitals near me, being able to take classes at Harvard, being able to do research at Harvard affiliated hospitals, like it really all came together and was able to support my particular set of interests in a way that I couldn't even have predicted, honestly, when I chose MIT. And so I think I'm really grateful to have had all these resources, and MIT ended up being a very, very good fit for me in that way. And honestly, I think if I had chosen any other school, I would probably be saying the same thing in a different way, right? But when looking back, I'm very grateful for all the things that MIT was able to offer me.
Excellent. I'm sure MIT is proud to have you as well, who had both subjective feedback and in the end turning it back to positive feedback. And your GPA is still great. 4.84 out of
it lowers. It lowers a lot every single time I take hard classes.
That's because of you, not being afraid of taking art classes. I'm sure others might have to avoid the tough classes to improve their GPA. But great, that speaks so much about you, your personality, your great courage, and your willingness to learn and challenge yourself. Okay, these are all prepared questions I have. I'm sure the audience might have a ton of questions for you as well. So we'll open up the channel and allow the audience to raise questions as well. You can either type in your questions in chat window or raise your hand if you'd like to raise questions directly to Mulan in English, or you can type the questions in Chinese in the chat window, and I can help translate for you. We still have 57 participants on the line. Amazing. Thank you so much, Mulan. You've provided so insightful responses. I'm so satisfied with your answers.
I'm glad.
Okay, any questions from the audience? I do have extra questions while waiting. Okay, let me raise this question.
How about I ask a question?
Oh, please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Mulan. I really appreciate listening all those, and I think you you answer I like the way you answer all the questions, and so very real, honest, and really good. Not just like some some kids are probably they think they are so smart or somewhere look like. So I think I like your personality, really good. You mentioned, you said you're shy and you have kind of self-conscious and something, and I really interesting in how you develop into such a this the characteristic right now, so have confidence and can get into a community. I mean, in the school, MIT, I believe there's all the smart people there, and you're among all the smart people, and obviously you become, you're very confident and you enjoy all those things there. So in this transition, and I believe you have probably have done a lot, or I would like to know what is the thing made you really transform you from a reserve, probably I said probably reserve, you said self-conscious, that's what I thought, and then a girl, and then become, this is you mentioned public speaking or something. I believe that helped probably, and but my daughter actually, she is that kind of kid. So she's kind of shy. I don't try to label her, but I know it's not supposed to say, but she kind of in that side. And if the kid, other people not just initiate a conversation with her, or then make an approach to she will not to initiate anything to others. That's to strike a conversation or something. And I really, I also try to help her to transform, or to help her to be just like very confident and just like and feel free in front of others, and don't worry about anything, and just be good yourself, and okay, probably I talk too much. I would like to listen, hear you, just like whatever insight or anything to give to a kid just like you, similar to you, and from that kind of, and become a person right now like you right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question. I would say that I don't think there's anything wrong with being naturally shy or reserved. I think it was just that for me, that I am actually naturally more extroverted. But it was only because I had such low self-confidence that it resulted in shyness. And I think like once I became more confident, like my more natural extroversion was like able to come through. But I think being naturally introverted is like perfectly okay. Like that's just who some people are, right? And I think that's like wonderful as well. I think that what helped me build confidence, I think it's really hard to name like just one example, but I think it was a growing process. Debate definitely really helped because I was arguing for things that I believed in. And I've at first found like arguing to be easier than like holding a conversation with people. Because like I could just debate them on issues and I could be informed, and therefore like I would know that I'm right, or like believe that I'm right at least. And so that was like an easy way for me to communicate with people. I think just being around like very wonderfully supportive people helped me realize that I naturally really enjoy talking to people. And that was I think I just at some point had the realization that I am like naturally quite extroverted. And so I wanted to talk to people. I liked talking to people, and I would just seek people out for conversations. I also did it online at first a lot more than in person. Like I would talk to my graphic designer friends on like Wattpad, which is this online writing platform, like all the time. And so I would feel like super confident talking to them because I was doing it behind a screen. And so that was less scary as well because they wouldn't know like what I looked like, or like they wouldn't know that I wore knee braces. And so like that helped as well. I think my answer has gotten a little convoluted, but I think what I'm trying to say is that being shy, being reserved, being introverted, I think that's just another personality, and that's great. But for me, like that resulting from low self-confidence was not great. And so having a supportive environment, I think, helped bring out more of my natural personality.
How do you make friends? I mean, so do you just like tend to make friend who has the similar characteristics, just like the shy, a little bit kind of kid, or you like to purposely you make friend with more outgoing kids, or your mom or parent try to, this is what sometimes I will, or your mom or other people will try to help you set up with make some kids similar characteristic to build up your confidence or something. What would you like to share some kind of experience?
Sure.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid, my parents were like trying to make me make friends, and I don't think that worked, to be honest. Sorry, parents. Yeah, to be honest, I don't think that really helped because it didn't feel very natural. But I think now I don't necessarily seek friends who are similar to me. Like, I don't prefer people who are more outgoing. Like, I enjoy talking to people who are more reserved just as much as I enjoy talking to people who are like super hyper and bubbly. Yeah, I think like, all people are different. All people are interesting for their own reasons. And yeah, I think I just enjoyed being around people enough that I wanted to make friends with like as many people as I could.
That's really good, really good. I mean, just like I cannot imagine you are excellent student. Look like you're good at a lot of things, and so you should be very confident in. I mean, if you just like people, you're the top student everywhere. You should be feel very good about yourself. So you probably, I think, probably just nature. Some people it does. You are right. I actually listened to a book after I just start to for myself try to say, oh, this is a type of characteristic, nothing wrong with that. And so if the person doesn't want to talk much, that's okay, as long as not miserable, as long as she enjoy and the way, that's fine, and also she do her thing. So you're right. I mean, but I just cannot imagine a person like you that's smart and in a lot of the way should be very confident. But thank you so much though for your sharing, and your parents obviously have done a fantastic job at that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Effie, for the question. We do have 5 people who have raised hands or questions. 2 people are asking about the same time management challenge. I know, Mulan, you already explained briefly earlier. It's a challenge. You acknowledge it's a challenge, but they still would like to learn more about the exact techniques you practice to be able to manage time. Do you use a planner, a physical planner, in addition to Google Calendar? Do you?
I think, yeah, it's a good question. I do think everybody plans differently, and like people should figure out what works well for them. I really like Google Calendar because I like being able to block out my time. And it's on my phone, so it's like super easy to see. I use Notion, which is another app. It has like task lists and calendars and allows you to take notes. And there's like a ton of YouTube tutorials about like the most efficient way to organize your Notion. And that's different for everybody as well. Like I know my sister uses like a physical planner. I used a physical planner in high school. I think there's a ton of techniques out there. It just really depends on what works for you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Let's see, we have 4 people now raised hands. I'll have to pick the first one first. Ling Guo. I'm gonna let's see.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So Mulan, after hearing your story, we're so proud of you for your achievement you have made in past years. And we always saw your shining moment, but behind it, today I hear so much up and downs. So a little bit 心疼你, but still so proud of you, and you should be proud of yourself. I have 2 questions for you. So, especially in your freshman year at MIT, do you ever have a moment to question yourself? Do I really belong to here? Or because MIT has best of best students from the world, and if you have ever questioned yourself, how you quickly adapt yourself into the new community and have your belonging feeling at MIT? The reason I ask is because I also have a freshman in college. The second question will be, obviously you're choosing a harder way than an easier way, because right now most young generation as your age, they are more looking at how can I make money in the shortest time, and like computer science, those type of things. But you are truly looking for what you love to do in the future and decided to go for medical school, which will take you another few extra years. And with your current degree, you already can make a lot. Yes, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I think my internet cut out for a moment. Do you mind repeating the second question?
Yes, second question. You choose the harder way than the easier way. because most young generation would like to take a shortcut to say, how can I make much money when I graduate? But you decided to go to what you really love about, what you really passionate about, which is the medical school. But that will take another few extra years for you. And with your current MIT degree, you can already be very successful. But as the title of this seminar, you are choosing a Zagway path. So what make you make this decision to not take a easy way, but go with a true challenging way? So this is my two questions. Thank you, Mulan.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I'll answer the second one first, actually, because I think it's a bit of a shorter answer. I honestly don't think it was a conscious decision necessarily. I'm the kind of person who likes to go with their gut instincts, and do what I feel like feels right, or like what I care about. And so that just meant pursuing whatever I was like really interested in at the moment. I didn't really have a long-term plan, to be honest. When I first did mechanical engineering, I didn't really have a long-term plan for when I did computer science. I just did what I thought was interesting and what classes I wanted to take. And it sort of like fell into place afterwards. Like as I took these classes, as I explored my interests, I like started to hone in more on particularly what I liked. And now that I look back, I think it's really easy to like show that story, right, of like the natural progression and how I got there. But as I was going through those decisions, like it wasn't planned out in any way. I just sort of decided to do what I was interested in. And I don't know if I necessarily have like any advice, because I think that if you have a long-term plan and you want financial stability and that's your goal, great, wonderful, good for you. That just like personally wasn't what I wanted. And for the first question about imposter syndrome, which is like the feeling that you don't belong. Yeah, totally. I remember having a dinner with like some guy in my freshman year, and then somebody told me that he like won the US Math Olympiad, and I was like, whoa, that's so crazy. And it's like very easy to feel like that you're not like good enough, or that like you're somehow worse than everybody else, and everybody else like is just smarter than you. But I think that like everybody struggles with their own things in different ways. And that was an important realization for me to make. And I'm like never going to be able to outcompete everybody on everything, right? Like I definitely am not the best mechanical engineer. I'm definitely not the best pre-med either. But I think that like I find my own self-worth in like my unique perspective, and being able to combine fields and combine my arts background and being from Kansas and being an Asian American from Kansas. Like I think every person is very, very unique and is going to bring a unique perspective into what they do, because there's truly like no other person like you. And just trying to realize that, rather than to like compete with people on like very hyper specific things. Yeah, that helped me a lot.
Excellent response. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Fang Shen, could you unmute yourself and raise the question?
Yes, we have a question. Hi, Mulan. First of all, thank you so much for spending time with us. So we have a question about when you're growing up, some of the extracurricular or hobbies you did, like whether it's a music instrument or like a sports activity. Are some of those things you did when you grew up, but now you maybe end up not doing it or not continuing as a college student? So how do you view those time spent? Do you think it's still worth it, or do you feel like that's a waste of time?
Yeah, I don't think anything you do is like ever really a waste of time. I don't do most things. I don't do like anything that I started in high school, in college now. Like I did piano when I was growing up. I still play piano now, like occasionally for fun. But like maybe like once a month. Like I certainly don't play like competitively anymore. I did debate. I don't do debate anymore. I did science Olympiad. I guess I still do science, so that one counts. I did synchronized swimming for a long time. Don't do that anymore. But I think things evolve into different things, right? Like I did painting as a child. I don't paint anymore, but I think that love for creativity and for art translated into my book covers. I don't do synchronized swimming anymore, but that enjoyment of like artistic movement with my body translated into dance. And so I think there are these sort of parallels where I learned from the activities that I did do, and it still like makes up who I am. Like I still love listening to piano music, but maybe that's just when I study and not actually playing it myself. I still enjoy science, even though I don't compete in it necessarily, but I enjoy the scientific method and that way of thinking, and that is why I'm an engineer now. So I think that a lot of the interests that you build and those like more abstract concepts, I think are still incredibly valuable, even if you're not doing that specific activity anymore.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we have two more people here. The next one is Rose One. Could you unmute yourself?
Yes. Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much, Mulan, for sharing your amazing experience with us, including your struggles and your success, yourself, I guess, realizations, how to find the self-confidence. So that's very awesome, experience to share. And I guess I have two questions for you. So my first question is regarding the change of your major, or let's say career, now projection from engineering to medical school, because they are kind of, in my opinion, they are quite different. Maybe there's something in between, like biomedical engineering. So can you talk more about what triggered that change and how your MIT experience made you decide that you want to go to pursue medical school in for the next stage of your career? And I guess for the same question, what suggestions do you have for like students younger than you, let's say younger college students or even high school students? If they don't know what to do next, what to learn, what major they want to get into, what suggestions do you have for them? Okay, so this is my first question. And my second question is about, you talked...
Sorry, would you let me answer the first one first before I forget it?
I can afterwards.
Sure. I just didn't want to forget your question because I think it's a really good one. So when I switched from computer science to mechanical engineering because I liked mechanical engineering classes more. I thought it was more fun. So I did that. And then I did an internship at General Motors, the car company, and I was working on autonomous vehicles. I just really didn't like it. And then I took a class that was called quantitative physiology. And at the same time, I had sort of been already interested in medical devices because I did like anatomy and physiology in high school. I had personal experiences with medical issues. And so I was interested in medicine as a concept. And I had like tried making a knee brace for myself before as well. So I was like, okay, I have this like underlying interest in medical devices. So I took a quantitative physiology class. And that class was like actually life-changing because we learned how to like model the heart and blood flow through like mathematical models, like analogies to electrical circuits, being able to like look at how you can manipulate different systems in the body, how it's all interconnected. It was a really cool class. Like being able to think of the heart as like a mechanical machine that actually still keeps you alive. Like it's literally a pump. you just squeeze it and it works. And that's like keeping humans alive. I think that's crazy. I really like that concept. And like, that was just what I felt really passionate about. And I was like, this is so cool. And so I wanted to do it. And I just kept taking more medical device classes and I really liked it. And so I, in some ways, I guess, just like kept doing what I thought I was interested in and ended up finding it. And I think the second part of your question was about like, what about if you don't know what to do? And like, I think that it's easy for me to seem like I know what I want to do. Like, I know exactly like what my future is going to be. I don't necessarily think that's true. I still don't know like what I want to do. Like, do I want to do an MD? Do I want to do an MD PhD? What do I want to specialize in? Do I want to be a surgeon or just do cardiology? I don't really know yet. I think there's still a ton of question marks for me even. But I think I feel like I'll be okay as long as I just keep going with what I'm interested in and like knowing that, okay, I'm probably not taking the most direct route to get to what I'm interested in, but that's okay because like the experiences I have along the way are going to be valuable and going to be useful. And even if I'm not doing exactly what I initially set out to do, like what I still learned in the process is like still valuable to me anyways. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's wonderful. So what I heard from you is, you know, you are always guided by your interests. So you always try to honor what your heart feels like doing, you know, like to do. And you don't feel like any of your experience is ever wasted. They are going to be valuable at some point, you know. So that's great. Also because you know, in terms of like major, you know, there are a lot of like emerging, like interdisciplinary and even multidisciplinary is a research or the combination between research and let's say clinical practice. So I think anything is possible. Like I can see you have a natural love for research, you know, for science, you know, because I know you did very well in science. High school and you obviously you like research. I think there certainly you know there will be opportunity to do both like patient care and also to develop new technology or device, medical device that serves the patient. Okay, great. Okay, my second question, I'm going to keep it short. And you mentioned a little bit about some not so pleasant experience as Asian American, I guess back, you know, in, I don't know, high school or middle school. So now you have, you know, you're almost like toward the end of your college. So can you share about like some, what unique opportunities and challenges that in general Asian American students face in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really hard to make generalizations because I was in a very like specific circumstance. I think like talking to other Asian Americans at MIT, their experiences have varied widely on what part of Asia they're from. Like Southeast Asians face extremely different challenges from East Asians and like where they grew up. If they grew up in like California and Bay Area, their experience is likely looked extremely different from mine growing up in Kansas/Missouri. I will say that I think that as an Asian American, a lot of these struggles that I faced, like initially, I think it really like hurt my self-confidence. I would like I went through like some of those like very angsty phases where I was like, oh my God, life would be so much easier if I were just white. And like, I think that was a really, really negative, like terrible thought to have because I think ultimately I'm like very grateful to be Asian American. And I think after a lot of the experiences, like looking back on it, like they're terrible to have, but at the same time, like I think that having understood what it's like to be a minority, like gives me that sort of perspective, or like gives me that sort of care of like wanting what I do in the future to help marginalized communities. And I think that it's just like, it's a very important part of my identity. And it definitely shapes not just how I view political issues, but also how I view like technology and medicine, for instance, and making sure that like the medical devices I make are equitable to rural communities and to other marginalized communities. And so I think that sort of care and understanding, I don't think I would have gotten that had I not experienced what I did. So like, I can't necessarily say that it was like a good thing, but I think it is like a part of who I am.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Great questions. Thank you, Rose. Okay, let's move on to the next participant who raised the hand. Lu Gao, could you unmute yourself?
Hi. Actually, I'm using my mom's laptop. So,
It's okay.
hi, Milan. I'm Allison, and I'm only a sophomore in high school right now, but I felt like when I was listening to your story, I could really relate to a lot of the struggles that you had, especially about being Asian American and sometimes facing like unintended discriminatory like remarks. I have a few questions, mainly about like the process of college and like how you pick extracurriculars. I really want to know like when is it too late to start a new, like not hobby, but like a new passion? Yeah,
that's a good question. Like a part of me wants to give you like it's like never too late to start something, right? But like I think like I do believe that's true, but like to be perfectly honest, like the activities that I did in high school, I did start them quite early. I did debate and science. I did debate since freshman year. I did science Olympiad since like 6th grade. I started my book cover business in 9th grade. So a lot of like the major things I did were like from quite a young age and like very continuous throughout high school. That doesn't mean that that's like the only way to do it, for sure. But yeah, I think I can only draw on personal experiences, and those were the experiences I had.
Yeah. I also want to know, I'm also on Science Olympiad, and I've been on it also since 9th grade. Oh, I also wanted to join debate, but I couldn't because of that, like, because of tennis season. For Science Olympiad, like, how did Science Olympiad, like, kind of affect you? Because at my school, sometimes I feel like Science Olympiad is more like copy and pasting, like you can like search things up from the rules manual and you can just copy and paste an entire page. And I don't really feel like, and I don't really know how much it benefits my learning and my passion for science. So I don't know how like it affected you.
Yeah, no, I understand what you mean. Like Science Olympiad is like very, I did a lot of knowledge events. And so it was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. My laptop is about to die. Give me just a second. I'm so sorry. I just need to plug this in.
Okay, no issues. While waiting, let's see who else has raised hand. I think that's the last one question we have for the night. And sorry for running over.
Okay. Yeah, I'm back. Okay, I'm so sorry. Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I did a lot of knowledge events. I did anatomy, I did ecology, I did experimental design, and like a lot of like other random events. Like I think those are like the main ones though. But yeah, like super copy pasty. But I think like the best part about Science Olympiad that I personally got was like a really strong friend group out of it, and like friends who are like not afraid to be like super nerdy and make a lot of like really like, sciencey jokes. And I think like that sort of like the ability just to like be interested in something and like not have people judge you for it, and that sort of welcoming community around science was what I felt like Science Olympiad was best for. Like my best event was ecology. Clearly I do not do environmental science now. And I think that's like okay, but like I realized that I enjoyed learning about the natural world. I enjoyed knowledge, and I enjoyed like, yeah, just being able to talk about science with people. Like it was just fun, like being in the lunchroom and like thinking about like for a while my anatomy system was like the digestive system, and like I would just like give like random fun facts like to my friends like as we were eating like lunchroom food, you know, like just being able to like be super nerdy and have that be accepted, I think was the best part of Science Olympiad.
Okay. Yeah, like I can see where you're coming from because there's a lot of inside jokes that we also have.
Yeah.
Okay, one last really quick question.
Sure.
Like, what do you think is like a good balance between like academic achievements, like competition stuff, and like stuff that you're passionate about, like community service and like stuff like that?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. I think that I spent a lot of time on academic things, sure. I think like the main like community service things I did were the volunteering, the teaching English in China, and like fundraising for education in China, and like my work. Oh, I forget. Oh yeah, and my work on book covers were like the main like non-academic-y things. But I also think that like the two sort of blend, right? Like for debate, for instance, for me, like I think it's like technically an academic activity, but like the most like character building moments of debate were like
快点啊！
a lot of the really racist and sexist comments I got were through debate. And so that was like something that like I ended up talking about my college application essays, was how I like felt disenfranchised as a woman in debate. And that ended up being like a social issue that I cared a lot about, and like making sure that my debate team at home was like inclusive, and even advocating on the community-wide level for more reforms in debate to make sure that it was more equitable towards women. So there's like some overlap there, I think, in terms of like academic things and social things. So yeah, I think the balance is just like where you feel like it makes most sense, but I also don't necessarily think that the two have to be distinct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Wow, that's such a unique perspective and insight you already have about life. It's hard to set the boundaries sometimes, and it's good to have win-win and a synergy across different domains, and your skill sets definitely help you succeed in any field, I feel. And thank you for sharing your growth and your insights and your unique perspectives, and it's very inspiring for me to see how passionate you are on what you learn, and you truly have the passion and truly have the interests in academics and non-academic areas that you love to pursue. So I wish you all the success and continued success going into medical school, and would like to stay in touch with you and follow up with you in future.
Yeah, thank you so much. Y'all were so nice to me.
Yep. Okay, so let's wrap up with the let me switch to Chinese 呢，我们社区下一步的活动的预告，2月24号有一个社区的讨论会，关于焦虑，很多父母都会有这个问题，孩子的焦虑，家长的焦虑。怎么样去排解？怎么样去处理？我们下次活动的主持人是 Jessie， 在2月24号，欢迎新的会员参加这个讨论会。然后呢，我们3月份开始就是2023季的这个同伴社区的启动。